Today, I would like to discuss 5 reasons why China is going so hardcore on the COVID-19 lockdowns. Look what happened in Shanghai. You look at the requirements to use the subway. You have to get all these PCR tests, which, if you've researched it, they are very inaccurate. This is anybody with a modicum of sense realizes it's a control mechanism. And given that China has made really brilliant moves starting from the 90s on, look how they've become the global economic powerhouse, the world's manufacturer, how they've raised the standard of living for tens of millions of their people, how they've invested in infrastructure. This, on the surface, seems like a pretty bad move because it's going to harm their economy. It's going to embitter their people against their government. So I have to ask myself, why is President Xi and the Chinese ruling people doing this? And so, if you look at China's Belt and Road Initiative, if you've looked at all the moves, they've been pretty intelligent right now. And if you compare Chinese politicians, so if you compare President Xi to President Biden, you listen to President Xi's speeches, the translations, they are much more intelligent. He's operating at a much higher level. If you listen to Biden, he's suffering from severe dementia. He is inarticulate. He could barely read off a teleprompter. And just comparing the Chinese rulers to the American rulers, there's a vast intellectual chasm. You look at our politicians, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell. When they talk, it's on a sixth grade level. And I don't know if the way the system in the United States is designed to raise up the stupidest, the most venal, the pawn scum, and the miscreants, if that's the way the system is designed. Or, on the other hand, maybe they think this is the intelligence level of the American public. And when you speak to Kamala Harris or Nancy Pelosi in person, maybe they're actually quite brilliant. And this is all an act because they think the American public are so stupid, they think they have to dumb down the conversation to a fifth or sixth grade level. And that's certainly possible. I don't know. I've never met any of these people in person, so I can't really say. But the Chinese, on the other hand, we have to question as to what their motives are, since they are playing the game so well up until this point. And so the first reason I could think of, are you good? And so these are the 5 reasons I've come up with why the Chinese might be going so hard on the COVID lockdowns. And if you have any reasons that you could come up with that I haven't covered, please put them in the comments section, because this is certainly an interesting case. The first reason why the Chinese might be going so hard on the COVID-19 lockdowns is, like the American government, like the Australian government, like the UK government, like the government of New Zealand, they may be part of the Great Reset. In other words, the Great Reset that is being orchestrated by international banking, by the Davos billionaires, they just may be in control of every country in the world. and the Chinese are going lockstep. They are following the orders that were given to them by the globalists, and they are doing what everybody else is doing. They are not in control of the situation, and it's certainly plausible. So that's one possibility. The second reason the Chinese government may be going so hardcore on the COVID-19 lockdowns, uh, really extreme, is it is a form of controlling their population, just like it is in the United States or the European Union, Australia. The Chinese may be anticipating a global economic collapse, and we can see with the rising rates of inflation, declining wages, the immense global debt on a corporate and personal level, that since China has 1 billion people, if they were to encounter a major economic meltdown, how do you control 1 billion people? I mean, we have 350 million or so people in the United States. That's going to be chaotic. Imagine having 1 billion people when the ATMs start working or stop working, when there's a run on the banks, when there are food supply shortages. One thing that all global rulers share in common is they want to stay in power. And if there is chaos, it will make it difficult for the ruling elites to hold on to their power. So it doesn't matter if it's Russia. If it's China, United States, the ruling class wants to stay in power. And the COVID lockdowns, the trace and track, the digital biometric IDs, it doesn't matter what the ideology is, it's a way of keeping in control. And so the Chinese, rulers want to stay in control just like any other ruler. So they might be anticipating global economic chaos. And that's certainly a reasonable conclusion based on what's going on economically. Reason number 3 why the Chinese government may be going so hardcore on the COVID-19 lockdowns, going past any of the Davos controlled Western nations, is because President Xi may be playing a double game. If you look at the intellectual capabilities of the Chinese leadership versus the American leadership, you're going on a much higher intellectual level. And so what President Xi may be thinking is, well, okay, if these lockdowns are going to cool down the economy, China, we are the global manufacturers. Everything that the Americans get is made in China. Their drugs, their electronic equipment, all the junk they buy in Walmart, all made in China. If we shut down the economy in China, if we cool it down, it's going to create major problems with the global supply chain in the United States. They're going to have real issues because what does the United States produce now? They produce weapon systems and Twitter and Facebook. But the days of made in America are over. They don't exist. It's made in China. When China shuts down that system down, it's going to be very negative for the United States people and economy. And so his thinking is, well, I'm not going to declare economic war on the United States directly. I'll cool down my economy. I'll stop shipping that stuff over, and the Americans will be in real trouble. And we can produce enough for our own people domestically to take care of them. We make medicines, we produce, food, we produce electronic equipment, machinery. We could keep going. So it could be a case of President Xi playing 3-dimensional chess. Reason number 4 for China's harsh lockdown response of late is they may be anticipating another bioweapon attack. Remember, who controlled the Wuhan lab? It was Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, right? Big Pharma. it's extremely plausible that the Wuhan lab leak, which even mainstream professors, corporate guys like Jeffrey Sachs are now admitting it was a likely lab leak. Then if you accept that, then the question is, was it intentional or accidental? I think it's reasonable to assume it was intentional. So if the lab leak was intentional and it was released on the Chinese people by the neocons, the deep state slash Mossad, where one begins and the other ends, who knows, then they may be, these super lockdowns may be drills for the coming waves of bio attacks. And also keep in mind that we don't know what these mRNA vaccines are doing as far as mutating the virus. So therefore, the Chinese may be thinking ahead, and they're saying, wait a minute, maybe these vaccinated people are going to be virus factories that are going to create stronger and stronger generations of the virus, and then we're going to have a real pandemic, a real plague on our hands. Keep in mind, I'm not a virologist. I'm just saying the Chinese vaccine, from my understanding, is based on older vaccine technology. In other words, the Chinese are using attenuated viruses in their vaccines, which is really just a weaker form of the pathogen. So the body develops antibodies, as opposed to the new mRNA technology, which screws around with your DNA and does all kinds of stuff. If you've taken this vaccine, then you are part of a great, the great control group experiment. This is the control group. There was no control group prior to this. This dissemination of the vaccine was the experiment. I'm sure some people got placebos, just like in any other control experiment. You always have a placebo group, and that would explain why some people are dropping dead, why some people are getting myocarditis, and then why some people are perfectly healthy who receive the vaccines. I think there's probably different variations of the vaccine. That's conjecture on my part, but based on my observations, that seems to be the logical conclusion. And so, to get back to China's preparation for a real outbreak, the real deal pandemic, they may be saying, wait a minute, they're gonna hit us down the road with another bioweapon, or the bioweapon that was released, most likely by the neocons, is going to mutate and we're gonna have some real problems. I don't know, but that could be, how they're viewing this. Another possibility for the intense Chinese response to the COVID-19 situation with these draconian lockdowns, which are embittering the people of China, which are slowing down the Chinese economy, could be because China is playing a double game against the Great Reset. This is another possibility. I don't know if it's correct. I'm merely pointing it out as a possibility. Like I said, I have no knowledge firsthand of any of this. This is pure synthesis of the data to create conjecture. And so China could ostensibly, be going along with this Great Reset willingly, and then at the end of the day, they could be planning a double game where they're going to turn around, make a move, get out of the grasp of the Gates, Goldman Sachs, Clinton Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, Rothschild gang, all the entities that appear to be orchestrating this, Pfizer, big pharma, multinationals, deep state, Mossad, they could be playing a long game where they're going to turn around once this thing really collapses. They're going to be saying, whoa, we're the next global superpower now. We've been playing along with this great reset. You think you have us under your thumb, and now the globalists have misjudged the situation. The whole thing's collapsing beyond what the great reset engineers anticipated, and China's saying now we're going to be in a strong position where everybody else crashes. Could, like I said, a possibility. If you have other thoughts on it that I didn't touch on, please put them in the comments section. Let me say this. I have great respect for China. I am against the I'm against the Great Reset. I'm against this neocon, or the neocon wars of aggression against Russia, against China, Iran. This is from my viewpoints. Many great philosophies come from China. You have the art, science, and philosophy of Chinese Kung Fu. One thinks of the great practitioners, the Chinese Buddhist monks who perfected Kung Fu. One thinks of Zen Buddhism, which originated in China, and China also, the other forms of Buddhism, which, Buddha originally came from India, but it was China that perfected Buddhism. And of course, Zen Buddhism then went from China to Japan, to the great, much gratitude to the great Master Suzuki and his great book. I do not want war with China. Imagine if the neocons were not in control of the United States. If you had an ethical government, they would say, wait a minute, China, let's team up. Let's work on, mining asteroids so we don't have to destroy the planet. Let's work on nuclear fusion reactors, not fission, that create all the Chernobyl waste. This is fusion, cold fusion reactors. We start another space program where the countries used to cooperate, like the Soviet U.S. space station back in the day, the International Space Station. Let's clean up the oceans. Let's use all this technology we're using for wars and missiles and surveillance. And let's work together, with Russia, with Japan, with the European Union. Thank you.